Hello, hello, and good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. This is not normally the day that we stream, but here we are, and we're just gonna do all of the things. They're gonna get done. So today we are going to cover a handful of things. We are going to be talking about how to stay motivated for school when you don't want to do anything. So this is a really great time. For all of my replay crew, hello, love you, big hearts. We are going to have timestamps down in the description for you. But before you get into all of that, if it's your first time here, hi, welcome. I'm Terrell, and this is Absolutely Studying. I talk about organizational hacks, goal setting, and most importantly, studying tips to help keep you on track. So today we're going to talk about how to stay motivated for when you don't want to do anything. So we're just going to share our screen and jump right in. But while you are here, do not forget to do the YouTube thing. So like, subscribe. I got big goals for 2023 on this YouTube channel, and I would love for you to be a part of it and help me achieve those goals. So let's share our screen because we are ready. We are ready today. And let's get started. So, how to stay motivated for school when you don't want to do anything. How can you stay motivated when you're overworked and you don't want to do anything? Because I know on those days, I just want to lay in bed. This here is a copy of the study planner. It is a study guide template. If you need one, by all means, I will link it below in the description if it's not already there. Or you can pop over and the article itself is linked in the description. So you can always pop over there and check out this article for yourself and pick up the study guide planner. It's got a lot of good stuff happening over here. So me personally, I wear a ton of hats. I'm a business owner. I take classes, I tutor, I work one-on-one with coaching and clients on their study skills and their organization skills. And I also have a family and a medical clinic. That's a lot. It's a lot. So lots of hats are being worn by moi. There is not much more I can squeeze out of my day. The number one question that I'm asked is, how do I stay motivated? I get this question all the time, and I get it especially because it's so easy to burn out. There have been days where I feel like I'm constantly fighting burnout. It's not just this great big smile. I'm not trying to be I heard this word. It's like toxic productivity. That's not what it is. I I don't want to do anything some days except for lay in bed and binge on Netflix or YouTube. So what do I do on those days? I lay in bed and I binge on Netflix and YouTube. I am so sorry. If you hear something, that is my German Shepherd. His name is Punk, and he is having an absolutely fantastic nap in the corner. It sounds like he's barking at the mailman or something. And I'm gonna leave him there, but he's just having an amazing nap of chasing and sleep barking. So yes, my dog talks in his sleep. So on those days, I choose to just lay in bed and binge on Netflix and YouTube. Staying motivated is a delicate balance, and it requires you to coordinate a lot of moving parts in your life. That's why today I want to share my tips on how to stay motivated to work. Oh, I remember one semester I was so overloaded. There were times when all I could do is just cry. I felt like there were so many deadlines closing in and so much to be done. I had no idea I had no idea if I could balance everything. And yet I had no other options. I had already signed up for these classes. I had already committed. So all I could do is put one foot in front of the other and keep pushing forward. One day I went to a physiology lecture, and I had a project coming up and I had not finished it yet. It's not that I had forgotten. I just had so many other pieces of projects. I had so much else due and so many midterms. I had so many other exams coming up. So all I could do is put it aside. I couldn't even think about it, about how important it was, how much of my mark was depending on it. So I just put it out of mind so that I would not have a full-on panic attack. As I sat in class one day, the professor started going over how strictly he was planning on grading this project. He was one of the department heads, and he did not tolerate any silly mistakes. He was one of those professors that took themselves extremely seriously. Did I mention that he was the head of the physiology department? And that was my major. So he was the head of the department that I was trying to graduate from. He also discussed how he would start taking 10% off of the final mark for every 1 minute late you were, and 50% off the following day. So I was terrified. I hadn't even started the assignment, and I barely read the instructions. I'm sure that much of this was just due to sheer exhaustion. I had never handed an assignment late before, but the idea that there was such a harsh penalty if I did hand it in late just was absolutely terrifying. What if my computer blew up? What if my house was overrun with lemmings and the Wi-Fi went down in my entire neighborhood? These are things that could happen. Luckily, this class was off in a quiet corner of the university campus. So after class, I quickly ran to the bathroom in the dark, abandoned hallway and I just really wanted to cry in one of the bathroom stalls. The building that this was in was a lab building. It was a building that housed most of the lab and like research labs and the animal holding. So there wasn't a lot of traffic. There are people going to their lab to do their assignments and work diligently and then leave. There wasn't a lot of people that just cut through the building or wandered around in the building. So it was very nice off to a corner. And I was able to normally find a nice little bathroom stall to just cry in. So I got there. And unfortunately, someone was already sobbing in one of the corner stalls. I didn't want to intrude, so I did just turn around and leave. I did hand that assignment in on time, and I did better than I expected despite my constant feeling of impending doom. But I learned something far more important from that experience. Motivation is a delicate equilibrium. And while you were laughing at my asides, right before I finished it, I think the day before I finished it while I was working on it, so I think I was working on it on a Sunday and it was due on the Monday, my laptop did explode. I did get the green screen of, or not the green screen, the blue screen of death, and it shut down while I was trying to import and put together this massive lab report. So you laughed when I was talking about the internet going down and the lemmings, but my computer did in fact explode. And I think it was probably about 4 o'clock on the Sunday. And I literally had an hour to run down to Best Buy and buy the first computer I could get right off the shelf. It was one of the cheaper computers because I didn't have $1,000 in my bank account to just drop on a computer on a Sunday afternoon. So I grabbed it. That is my laptop that I lovingly call the turnip. I came home and tried to slowly download, get my other computer back on, download the project and move it onto this new computer so that I could get it done because I could not risk another explosion. But while we're talking about this delicate balance of motivation, we also have to understand that we have limitations and you have to take care of yourself if you want to get the results that you expect. Sometimes you'll get better results by just stepping back and taking care of yourself than you will by plowing ahead and forcing yourself to be even more productive when you feel like you're just wading through quicksand. That's why I want to share this simple strategy with you today. It's going to lead you through how to fight burnout when you don't want to do anything. But some of the steps might be surprisingly counterintuitive. I did put it. Oh, and by the way, my laptop did blow up that weekend, but that's a story for another day. I already told it to you. I already told you that story. So, what is motivation and why does it matter? Let's just get a quick coffee break in. I love my coffee. I think it is probably responsible for a good 30% of my productivity. I want to say coffee, positive mindset, and the rest are all of these tips here. So, what is motivation and why does it matter? Motivation is actually feeling like you want to do something. When you have the drive and determination to start and continue to work on a task without forcing yourself to do it. Let's take early mornings, for example. A lot of people hate mornings, so they're not really motivated to wake up early. Your bed is so warm and you're so comfortable, you just want to stay there all day. However, you want to open presents on Christmas. So you are motivated to jump out of bed and join your family around the tree. You don't have to be called or bribed. You don't have to be reminded. You don't have to remind yourself of all the reasons you have to stay on path. It's just what you do. So that's motivation. Motivation can stem from many factors, from physical rewards on Christmas or a satisfaction of the job well done. In college and university, it's harder to stay motivated because the incentive for a great mark or your graduation is so far away. That's why it's essential to give yourself rewards regularly to stay on track. So let's just start jumping in. I believe there's about 10 tips here. Grab a pen and a paper if you want to, but now we're finally going to actually talk about how to stay motivated for school when you don't want to do anything. So how do I stay motivated? What are my tricks? How do I balance running 3 businesses and having a family? Could I have possibly made it through university while working 60 hours a week and going to school full time? I can tell you it's not easy. There were times when I went from sunup to sundown and it was a completely packed schedule. My very first secret is that I absolutely love what I do. Sharing these tips with you and working with clients doesn't feel like work. I love helping people and I feel genuinely rewarded when I get to do it. These are all things that I love to do. I love taking classes. I love going to school. I love working with clients. I love my business. So it doesn't feel like work. I feel like I am the luckiest person in the world that I get to go wake up and do what I want to do. And so that in itself is a huge bout of motivation. But there are times that I'm unmotivated too. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't feel like it today. My second secret is time management and pacing yourself. Just because my schedule is packed doesn't mean that I don't set aside time to unwind. By making a plan within my day and selecting my priorities, I can get a ton of stuff done and still take care of myself as well. So, how do I stay motivated to be productive? Pursuing your education and building a business have several things in common. First, you're working to increase your capital, whether it's monetary in your business or whether it's knowledge-based in education. Knowledge is the currency of the education system. Sorry. All your efforts in school are rewarded with an increase of knowledge, which you can show and get higher grades. The same techniques of organization and efficiency work for both because you're constantly under deadlines. In business, you plan quarters and make your targets, while in school, you attend classes for a semester and hand in assignments. Ultimately, you have to work and stay motivated to get what it is you need to reach these goals and pass your courses. This takes a ton of time and commitment, not just in class, but at home too. You have to put in the time to study and do your homework to succeed at school. Spending time busy at work without a true goal. Spending your time busy at work without having a true goal of what you're trying to accomplish is not going to help you. Have a specific task in mind that you want to complete to boost your productivity. And this way, you're not spinning your wheels, being too busy, but unproductive. So basically what that means is when you are sitting down at the end of the week, every time you sit down and do a study session, make sure you have a clear goal. So you are going to have your goal for the month, say, is to ace your exam. Well, then you have a goal every week to spend 2 hours studying. We'll just say 2 hours studying specifically for the exam. So now when you sit down for your exam, do you have a plan? Or when you sit down for your study session, do you have a plan? Can you sit down? Well, let's open this up. Let's stop share for a second. So when you sit down for your study session, can you sit down with a plan? So do you have your study session mapped out? Do you know what it is that you want to do and accomplish during that study session? So let's say you are studying for 2 hours and you're going to sit down and you're going to have a Pomodoro planner. So a Pomodoro planner is a method of structuring your study time. So let's say you're going to study invertebrates for 2 hours. So one Pomodoro block or one Pomodoro session would be the full 2 hours. You would have 4 blocks of 25 minutes with a 5-minute break in between each. So the first 25 minutes, let's make a plan to sit down and read our textbook. The second 25 minutes, let's do some flashcards. The third 25 minutes is we're going to separate the flashcards into 2 groups, and the ones that go that you had gotten right go on one side, and the ones that you had gotten wrong go on the other side. So those ones we're going to do again in block 4, but let's go back and review the notes for those ones in block 3. So now we have reading, flashcards, review notes, more flashcards for what you got wrong. And that's how you could structure an entire 2-hour Pomodoro block or Pomodoro study session. And so what that is that's giving you goals. You have something to work forward to. You've planned out that study session. And so when you sit down and you actually try and work through your study period, you have something to focus on. You're not just sitting down and working blindly for 2 hours. You're actually going through this plan. And this focused study session that you've planned works towards your weekly goal of studying for 2 hours, which works towards your monthly goal of passing and acing that test. So it all kind of goes together. It all nestles together to reach that cohesive goal in the end. If you don't have a Pomodoro planner for your study sessions, there is one in that free study planner that you saw the link to in the beginning. So I will make sure that that link is down below in the description. Okay, let's go. Let's go back to our article. So can you have it all? I firmly believe the answer to this is yes. I've been told that I dream too big, and I don't think that I'm dreaming. I'm planning, and these are 2 very different things. I know where I want to go. I know the exact path that I'm going to take to get there. You need to be very deliberate with your planning in order to accomplish what you set out to do. That's not to say that this plan can't be flexible and adjusted along the way, but it needs to be carefully created and followed. Great big goals can be broken down repeatedly until they are split up into simple tasks that can be worked on each and every day. This might seem to be overly simplified, but just try it. So your goal might be something like being a world famous surgeon. And this is just a bigger example of what I talked about with the study sessions. So first, you need to become a doctor. Before that, you have to graduate from university and get into med school. So to do that, you have to pass all of your classes. Instead of having a goal of passing all of your classes, you have to sit there and start by handing in one assignment and passing your tests. So what can you do today to make all of this happen? Today, you can sit down and you can create a to-do list to organize your day and schedule your time to help with this undertaking. This little thing, these little things that you do each and every day add up to massive progress over time. Personally, I'm happiest when I'm busy. So it's easy for me to schedule tasks throughout my day to work on. But this does not mean that this is all I do. I also have slumps when I just want to lay around in bed and not be productive. Sometimes my favorite thing is just sitting on my phone and staring at it blankly. Sometimes I'll watch a video. Sometimes I'll just be scrolling through social media. I can tell you that my brain is definitely shut off for the duration of this procrastination session. I give myself permission to go down the rabbit hole of social media or from YouTube and procrastinate because that's a form of self-care for me. You cannot operate at a 10 all day, every day. It's just not possible. You have to let yourself rest. You'll never be able to hit maximum productivity or motivation if you ignore your need for rest. Your brain will take a break whether you want it to or not. If you don't facilitate time for your brain to rest, it will choose to shut off when it wants to. So this could be in the middle of a lecture or exam, and it might even be when you're trying to write that huge term paper. Reset your body and brain like reset. Rest when your body and your brain needs a rest. Words are hard sometimes. So, how to set and achieve your priorities. One thing that helps me with setting and keeping priorities is to pack my day with no more than 3 goals or priorities. So these are not the mundane tasks like waking up and taking a shower or eating breakfast or brushing my teeth. These are 3 goals or objectives that I intentionally set and carry out in a typical day. So I might do meal planning for the week. I might try cleaning up a room and working on an essay. This is already a ton of work. Do not add any more obligations into a day like this. You have to understand your limitations, and piling on a ton of activities that you won't be able to attend to, that you won't be able to get done, will do more hurt to your progress. It can ruin your mood when you don't know. It can ruin your mood when you don't do what you set out to do. You feel bad because you didn't finish what you committed to. Doing this too often is going to hit your self-confidence and self-doubt in your ability to do anything. All of these things add up to a recipe for lowered motivation. But if you give yourself 3 targets and then complete them, you'll get a boost. This could motivate you to tackle even more things than you initially expected. Setting realistic goals and achieving them will boost your motivation, not hinder it. It makes it much more likely to get more done than you expected. So basically, what that just means is that if you have 3 things on your list, so you have 3 things to get done today, you are more likely to start tackling 4 and 5 and 6 items if you have completed the 3. So you complete those 3, you've got your boost of motivation. You're like, yeah, I have so much time left in the day. It's only 1:00 in the afternoon. Let me tackle another thing. You're going to be good. And that's going to put you on more of a boost to get more done. So now you might start on tomorrow's tasks early. Or you could just rest and really enjoy it so that you have a lighter day tomorrow, so that you have more motivation, more energy to do things tomorrow. But if you have 5 things on your list and you just don't have the time to tackle them all, and you only get to see, or you only get to finish 2 of them, now those 3 things, those things are going to be weighing on you. You're not going to feel as motivated, and you're going to be upset with yourself because you didn't finish what you were supposed to do. This can even be subliminal. And even if you don't feel really, really down about it today, as the habit starts going on, and this pattern continues and you never hit your targets, then it's really going to start weighing on you. And it's going to eventually make you feel like you don't have the ability to achieve what you need to achieve. So the best bet is to keep your goals small for the day and overshoot them rather than piling thousands of tasks on yourself and not being able to complete them. So next, your planner does more than tell you how you will spend your week. I love my planner. I am a total planner babe. It's an extension of my body. You could practically consider it another appendage. I cannot live without it. My planner does several things for me. It allows me to plan my time in the coming days and weeks, but it also allows me to see how I've spent my time in the past. Logging how I am spending my time and reviewing it periodically can show me what I spend too much time on. It'll also show me where I underestimate the amount of time I need to complete a task. So there will be some things that you end up pouring a ton of time into. And I'm not saying that this is wasted time. That's not the message I'm sending here. But these tasks might be crucial, which is why you have to have the necessary time to complete them available. It might be beneficial to carve out time in your schedule and devote extra energy to this task in order to get ahead of it. You can get in front of these obligations. If you get in front of these obligations, you can more easily tread water. This will relieve you of the worry that builds up when you're afraid of falling behind on something so tedious. Another way could be to clear out other things that you need to do before starting this task. So this way you can devote your full attention to it and not have to worry about time restraints. So you won't have to worry about what you have to do after this task. Do everything else before it, and then your afternoon or evening are just open for you to finish this task to completion. That way, if you go over, you don't have a list of things that you didn't get to touch hanging over your head. Finally, try breaking up burdensome tasks into smaller chunks. This can make it easier to carry out overall and less strict. This can make it easier to carry out overall and have less strenuous steps. I try to break up everything I need to do into pieces that take me no more than 15 minutes. Sometimes they're 5-minute tasks, 10-minute tasks, 15-minute tasks. I like to break them down into steps. So for me personally, I don't care if I end up with a list of 20 steps, as long as each step that I have to take to complete an item is only a few minutes. If it takes longer than that, I usually just add repeating steps. So let's talk about research, for example. If I am researching for a massive paper, if I am researching for a massive paper and I know that this is a huge report, I have a lot of research that I have to do, I'll break it down. I'll break it down into like 15 to 30-minute research chunks. I'll assign topics or questions for each of those research chunks, and I will repeatedly put it down. So I'll make sure that I have 3 30-minute blocks to research question 1, 3 30-minute blocks to research question 2, and I won't necessarily do them in order. I might split them up. So I'll research question 1, then question 2, then question 3. Then I might research question 2 again, because now I've researched these other things and I might have a little bit of a new perspective rather than just going down one rabbit hole at a time. So that structures me so that I know what I'm doing for a Pomodoro block, but it also structures so that I don't spend hours and hours and weeks and days researching. I only have a certain amount of time, so I have to stay focused. I have to stay on task. And at the end of that 25 minutes or 30 minutes, I get to take a break. I get to get up and walk away. And then when I come back, I can reassess how important that question is and continue, or I can move on to another question and come back to the first one later. But a lot of, even with my tutoring and academic coaching, I find that a ton of students will go down this rabbit hole and search and research way more than they necessarily need to. And they're coming up with so much stuff that they can't use. And this is just wasted time on research, because the information that they're researching, while it's interesting, It's not going to, there's no room for it in their paper. They've got too much information for their paper. So small tasks are less daunting to deal with, and they allow you to see yourself making progress before completion. So this is another way to increase your motivation. If you have a list of 20 items and you're just going through and you're crossing things off over and over and over again, that's going to give you some motivation to keep making progress because you're watching yourself, you're watching this list become shorter and shorter and shorter, and you're just flying through the steps. And that's going to motivate you to do more and see the progress you're making. Whereas sometimes you feel like you're just spinning your wheels. Seeing progress will summon motivation, allowing you to get a second win and become even more productive to complete the remaining tasks. If you do have a trouble creating a study schedule that works for you, you can also check out my Study Skills digital course. I've chatted about this before, but here you can learn how to plan and create a plan to help you get on the right path to crush the semester. Regardless of which strategy you use, make sure to set aside time for regardless of which strategy you use, make sure you set aside the time you need to complete any goals for the day. Okay, let's talk about staying organized. So it's much easier for you to convince yourself of something when you already have everything you need for it. So keeping a clean and inviting workspace also helps with this as well. Having all the items you need for a project or a study session before you sit down will help you to complete it faster and more efficiently. There is much less of a cleanup or setup when you don't have to deal with the constant frustration of looking for an eraser or a ruler. Tidy, organized workspaces are just more inviting. I love sitting down at my desk with my stationery and using it. I am a huge stationery addict. So stationery is kind of my thing. So when I get to use stationery, that makes my study sessions enjoyable. I often buy specialty and artisan stationery products just because I want to use them. I want an excuse to use them, and sometimes studying gets to be that excuse. I also have a diffuser with lemongrass essential oil, and I fill it at the beginning of any study sessions or work sessions. I love the scent. I find it energizing. So as soon as I sit down at my desk, I drop a couple of drops into my diffuser, and my brain immediately goes into work mode. So this is one way of training yourself. So you have often heard people say, don't study in bed. And that has nothing to do with your posture. It's because your brain and your body associate your bed with sleeping. So when you are in bed, you automatically kind of go into a lazy mode. Your brain is like, no, it's time to sleep. We're going to settle down. We're going to relax. But you need focus in order to retain the information. So your bed and the mindset that your brain is in from years and years and years of training is counterproductive. They don't go together. So that's why you're not supposed to study in bed. But if you study at the same place, or you have a pre-study routine and you go through that routine every single time you sit down and work, simply going through that routine, even if you don't feel motivated to work, is going to help you to work. So for me, even if I don't feel like working in the morning, I will come into my office, I will bring myself some coffee, I will turn on my computer, I will put in a couple of drops of essential oil onto my diffuser, and I love this lemongrass scent. It feels fresh and energizing for me. And so I have a ceramic little diffuser, and so I put a couple of drops on there, and then the smell of this fresh, energizing lemongrass puts me in the mindset to be productive. And that's what I sit down and do every morning, regardless of if I want to study or not. I force myself up the stairs. I will sit down at the desk. I will put some drops in my diffuser, and all of a sudden my brain just clicks from morning mode to work mode. And sometimes that's all you need to actually get productive. So you can actually train yourself that a certain set of conditions met means it's work time. And that in itself can motivate you to get started, even if you're kind of dragging your heels. Okay, let's go back. Me and my asides. I also organize my time. So I block my schedule and chunk similar tasks together to get things done as efficiently as possible. I break everything down into those 10 to 15-minute blocks, and I schedule them throughout my day. I know that nothing will take more than 15 minutes to complete this way. So if something takes longer, I will schedule a second or a third block to allow myself more time to finish it. It's not necessarily immediately after. Sometimes I'll split the items up if I can. So perfect. Oh, here we go. Perfect example. I hate doing dishes. I do hate doing dishes. I 100% loathe. It takes me like an hour. I can't force it to be any less. I don't want to sit there for an hour because I feel like I'm not making progress. So I break it up. I start with the first load, usually plates, cups, and bowls. Once I'm done with that load, I'll put the next load to set in the sink to soak. And then instead of hopping right in, I'll take a 5-minute break to do a different task. So that was a hard paragraph. So I start with the first load, usually plates, cups, and bowls. And when I'm done with that load, I will put it to set in the sink to soak. I'll put the next load in the sink to soak. So instead of hopping right in, I'm going to walk off for 5 minutes. I'm going to take a break. I might do another task. But if I'm in work mode, I might go and start clearing counters and sweeping the floor. This will often boost my motivation because now I'm seeing the kitchen kind of come together and get clean. And now I want to push through and finish it so that it feels fresh and clean and airy. And I love being in a clean kitchen. So otherwise, if my patience is low and after I've loaded the second sink, I might take a 10 or 15-minute break. And I'll watch a video, or I might browse some TikTok and just relax. I do set a timer, or if it's a YouTube video, I will say, okay, this is an 8-minute YouTube video. When this video is over, I have to go back and handle that load of dishes. So that's also very helpful that there is a distinct time and end point. Next is block off your time. Even when I'm reading a textbook, I break every step of my reading strategy down and assign it about 10 to 15 minutes. During my study sessions, I do follow the Pomodoro technique, and that is the focus interval technique that we chatted a little bit about earlier. So each of these steps is broken up with a break. The Pomodoro technique allows for 25-minute sessions, intense focus sessions with 5-minute breaks in between. So after 4 focus blocks, you get a long 20-minute break when the timer resets. So this gives you about 2 hours. I think it ends up being 2 hours and 15 minutes, but that last 20 minutes is all a long break. So as I plan each study session, first I decide how much I have to read. So I'll usually focus on one subtopic at a time or sub-chapter. So the first 10 minutes I spend just skimming over the section. I will read any headings, any captions, any bold words. I might look up their definitions to make sure I have a primed understanding of what I'm going to be reading. That's the first 10 minutes of the first 25-minute block. Next, I spend 15 minutes reading the passage and highlighting it. So now I get a 5-minute break. So I get up, I walk away, and I go do something else for the 5 minutes. When I come back, I have another 25-minute focus interval. And so I might write down notes, or if I'm not finished reading, I'll continue to read and highlight the section. During my breaks, I do step away from my desk. I might take the opportunity to tidy up, or even sometimes I'll pop in some laundry, as long as I step away from my desk and don't think about what I'm studying. I don't limit this to a study session. It's also a great way to structure your day. So if I have a lot of things to do throughout the day, I will still follow the Pomodoro time blocking method so that I'm not getting overworked on one repetitive task over and over and over again. And so this way I'm not working for hours straight and forgetting to take breaks. Instead, I can set my timer or turn on my favorite guided work session and get into any task. The background music also helps me to focus, and the timer is conveniently chimes to let me know when my break is over. So this technique keeps me rested and more productive because I'm not overexerting myself on any task until my brain is exhausted. I'm giving myself breaks and rotating through the activities to keep me actually interested. So this avoids monotony. It's a great way to prevent losing motivation by rotating activities that and can help you stay more engaged in them. It's because your brain's not doing the same thing over and over and over again, and eventually it's just going to go on autopilot and disengage. You also don't have to worry about spending hours and hours on a single job. There's a definite beginning and end point to the task you're doing. So even if it's something you don't enjoy doing, you know it's only going to be 25 minutes or 20 minutes or 15 more minutes. When you look over at the clock, there is less time that you have to do it, and there's a definite endpoint, and that can help you push through for 4 more minutes or 3 more minutes until the job or until the time you've allotted for the job is done. It's so much easier to convince yourself to do something for 10 minutes or 25 minutes than it is to, for example, sit down and read a whole chapter. As you start to lose motivation and interest, you're going to slow down. So this is going to cause the task to take longer and longer and longer. But if you're only ever going to do it for 25 minutes, if you're only ever going to sit down and read for the initial 25 minutes in the first place, then you can count down this time and know that something more interesting awaits you on the other side. So especially if it's something that you don't particularly enjoy, make sure that you follow it up with a 5-minute break of doing something you love. So if you love being on Instagram, then after you've read that 25 minutes, go ahead and go on Instagram, or go ahead and doodle or listen to your favorite song or whatever it is that you enjoy doing. That 5-minute break is when you can actually go and enjoy that and then move on to something else afterwards. Let's get some coffee. So how the next big way of staying motivated when you don't want to do anything is to make sure you are taking care of yourself. So self-care is one of the most important things if you want to be able to muster the motivation to focus on school or work or any of your other obligations. Obligilities? Is that, there's no way that's a word. So one of the first things that any accountant or financial advisor is ever going to tell you is to pay yourself first. And this is one of the best ways to achieve prosperity and financial security. So today, my advice to you is to pay yourself first. When you are planning out your week and budgeting your time, the first thing you should schedule is time for self-care and socialization. So add time to spend with your friends or do something that you love. Make sure that you are setting that time aside before you start piling on everything else that's going to keep you so incredibly busy. This can be anything from just going out for coffee and hanging out with your friends to one of my favorites, which is planning a girls' day and just running around and doing errands together, grabbing lunch or whatever, and just running errands with a friend. That's also a great way to be productive while also doing self-care and socialization. I also block off time every day to procrastinate, and people laugh at me about that, but I literally set aside about 15 to 30 minutes every single day, and that's my procrastination block. Sometimes I move it around, but I need to give myself time. I need to carve out time in my day to be able to just dissociate and daydream for a little bit. Sometimes it's something simple, like I give myself extra time to do simple tasks. That way I can have the time I need to procrastinate and do it slowly. So those dishes, if I know that those dishes are going to have to get done, I might give myself extra time so that if I need to just take a break while I'm doing them, then I have that time already accounted for in my day and I'm not falling behind on other scheduled tasks because I'm dragging my heels doing something that I need to do. Other times I will actually block off time for nothing. I often do this around important events. I like to block off at least an hour on Monday and Friday so that I have time to just exist. Friday afternoons after lunch, those are tough. Those are my nothing blocks. And those are tough because I feel like I actually sometimes have to convince myself to go back to work because I will be at especially at lunchtime, because I'm a morning person. So especially at lunchtime, I will literally be like, okay, it is lunchtime. I've eaten my lunch. I've worked this morning. I think it's just time to call it a weekend. But sometimes you still have things that you have to take care of Friday afternoon. So I often will block off like an hour or so that if I can convince myself to go back right after lunch and finish up what I need to do, it gets done. But if I can't convince myself, if I'm just dragging and I just need that extra hour to laze around and do nothing, I have it available and I can just procrastinate for like an hour after lunch. And Mondays are just, sometimes you have the Mondayest of Mondays and you just need an hour. In addition to, to just say this, in addition to these nothing blocks, I also make sure to schedule time for specific self-care tasks like manicures, skincare, video games, etc. I want to make sure that I'm not just carving out time to do but also actively doing things to take care of myself. So you can see my nails they look pretty gnarly right now because I have not had my paint my nail manicure time yet for today, for this week. So hopefully by Friday, I have some time in, or sorry, not Friday, Thursday. Thursday, we're doing our goal setting live stream this week, not Friday. So tomorrow I have some time carved out. Wednesday, today's Tuesday, days are hard. Wednesday, I am going to have some time in the afternoon to actually paint my nails. So you can come back and see if they are still gnarly then. Tuesdays is also reset day on my video game that I love to play. And so Tuesdays, I always carve out time to do my weeklies. So I feel like that being able to have something active to do with your self time, active and intentional, gives you something to do so that you don't have to feel guilty about sitting there doing nothing like you would if you were just, watching YouTube videos all day. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you reward yourself. Anything that you love to do that recharges your battery can be considered your form of self-care. So it doesn't have to be a bubble bath and a facial and cucumber slices. It can be anything that you find enjoyable. I love playing video games. And even though sometimes it stresses me out, it's still my form of self-care. It's still my escape from the world where I get to go and live this story. And so even though it seems like it's a little bit of a balance because I'm not laying in a tub full of candles, it's still a form of self-care. Now, positive self-talk. We are always so quick to be hard on ourselves. We expect more from ourselves than we do any other person on the planet. The problem with this is that beating yourself up can significantly impact your self-esteem and your motivation, even if you don't intend it. Negative self-talk can have profound impact on your self-worth. I did do a deep dive on the effects of both negative and positive self-talk. If you want to go more into that, I do suggest you read it. I will make a note to link that down in the description. This is me noting to myself. Okay, it is on the notepad. It is getting linked. So even if you're joking when you're calling yourself names, your brain can't actually tell the difference. Your subconscious doesn't understand sarcasm, so your brain thinks you're being serious. And this is actually what you think of yourself. It will internalize these words and slowly lower your self-worth, even if that is not your intention. Try to avoid this habit as much as possible. Instead, give yourself confidence, give yourself compliments every time you can. The same trick to make you feel bad about yourself works in reverse. Your brain doesn't know that you're not serious and don't necessarily believe the positive self-talk either. Still, if you repeat these compliments enough, they will eventually become real. You can bring these things into reality just by continually believing in them and working towards them. If you keep telling yourself that you are great, you are amazing, you are worth it, and you work on it, your brain will think you're getting better, and so you will. This is another form of paying yourself first, but this time you're paying yourself in compliments. This is the simplest form of self-care. So don't beat yourself up. Always try and look at the positive side and keep that positive self-view. And even if you're saying to me, Terrell, that doesn't work, it's not realistic, I can't do that. Just don't say that you can't do that. Just keep going through the words. Just keep saying them to yourself. Just keep saying, I'm amazing. I love myself. I'm good at this. I can get better at this. I am improving. And as the days and weeks move on, you're going to start seeing those improvements. So even if you feel like, even if you're in a place where you feel like you can't have a positive mindset, this is one of those situations where you just fake it till you make it. Just say that you have a positive mindset. Just keep saying positive mindset things. And then eventually those things will, you'll actually start feeling them. So understanding your limitations, here we go. This is probably where you are yelling at me that, so I know my limitations. I respect my limitations, but that doesn't mean that I like them. I am an imperfect person and we all have these limitations. But I don't think that having limitations takes away from what I can accomplish because I understand where to draw the line. I can make a plan to compensate for these shortcomings. This way they don't interfere with my goals. So for example, I am a very slow reader. However, I still wanted to graduate from university and get my education. I knew that there would be a ton of reading involved and it would be hard and technical and dry. So I made a plan to make the most out of every single reading session. I knew that if I could elevate how much I took away from a single reading session, then that time wouldn't be wasted. So whereas it might take me an hour to read something that it took somebody else 15 minutes to read, if I could get 4 times the value out of my reading session, then it still was worth it because I was still taking more away. And so that was where the intentional planning to compensate for my personal limitations came in. So I do love reading and my reading comprehension is solid. That's not what the problem was. The problem was that when I see the words, they're just words. They don't mean anything. On paper, they have no meaning to me. I have to be able to stop and visualize the information. I have to close my eyes and move it around and manipulate it. I need to be able to see it. That's just how my brain works. This is the same for words that I hear. I need to be able to see them before they make any sense. If you tell me something, if I'm in lecture and I'm just hearing words and I'm not seeing anything, those words don't mean anything. So I'm writing them down and I'm trying to paraphrase them, but I don't actually get a full understanding until I can see the complete 3-dimensional picture. I can understand it. I can move the pieces. So because of this, I do have a whole ritual and process for my reading strategy. It takes me longer, but I have a very deep understanding when I'm done. My reading sessions work triple time. I am incredibly deliberate about every single sentence that I read. I must have a solid grasp of the information before I move on. I have an entire unit dedicated to the steps of my reading strategy and a walkthrough to create your own in my digital course, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. And I believe I'll link that down below too. So I credit my reading strategy for most of my success in university. There are several steps to it, and each one is incredibly intentional. By creating a comprehensive reading strategy, you can create a list of steps tailored to your strengths, have bite-sized tasks that you can complete in about 10 to 25 minutes, have the flexibility to complete these tasks in any order, get to pick and choose the tasks that you enjoy so that you are actually getting enjoyment from your study session and your reading strategy. And you can rotate different activities throughout your study sessions to increase your engagement, which of course helps you stay more focused, which helps you stay more on track, and will help you to walk away from each study session with a better understanding. So each of these helps to increase the efficiency of each study session by strengthening the mental associations and recall. That means that you will get more out of each study session. So of course, you can see these links if you, the article that we're covering today is linked in the description if you want to go and visit it and check out any of these links. But I do have my study strategy in another article. So just because you do have shortcomings does not mean that you have to let it impede on your progress. There are so many inspiring stories of people succeeding despite the odds. If you have a plan, you can achieve it. You just need to take the first step. So now, another next way to stay motivated for school when you don't want to do anything is to unplug. I try to unplug and put down my phone at least a little bit every day, but I also avoid working or studying on Sundays. Sunday is my relaxation and reward day, and I try and keep it clear to use for a catch-up day if I fall behind during the week. But if I stay on track and accomplish all of my goals, Sunday is a free day for me, and I can do whatever I want. I also keep all of the notifications off on my phone every day. I find them really distracting, and I often jump to that, even if I'm focusing on something important. Instead, I turn them off and I just check between the tasks. So if it's a Pomodoro planning kind of day, I will just check my phone on the breaks between when I'm switching tasks. So this way I don't get distracted and I can finish what I'm working on faster. This first caused me some anxiety, but eventually it went away. I did have that anxiety where I was like, I need to check my phone. I need to check my phone. What's my phone doing? Is anybody texting me? But eventually it felt really nice to be not constantly interrupted by notifications, especially if it was something that's not important, something that could have waited in the first place. So now I can give my full attention to the project that I'm working on or my clients, and I don't have to check my phone whenever I get an email or a mobile game decides that some new limited time event is happening. Now, this one's going to seem a little bit strange, and it definitely helps me on the business side, but it does also help me on the educational side as well. And that is learning how to delegate, because you can't do it all by yourself. That's the most crucial point I want to make today. I can't run everything by myself. I have assistants at my clinic. I have my family that helps me do things day to day with those tasks. And it's okay to ask for and receive help. There's no shame in needing it or accepting it. Once I finally realized this, life got so much easier. Group projects used to be a nightmare, but when I approached them with an open mind and a willingness to trust others to actually do their part, a lot of people rose to the occasion. There's always a few in the group that are less than helpful, but for the most part, people do step up. It has been my experience that if you allow yourself to be vulnerable and give people the opportunity to step up and help you, they're going to rise to the occasion. Motivation can be so fragile, and it takes the slightest setback to completely obliterate it some days. Ugh, tongue-tied. Motivation can be so fragile, and it takes, hold on, words. Motivation can be so fragile, and it takes the slightest setback to completely obliterate it on some days. When you burn yourself out, it can take days or even weeks to come back. If you keep a balanced schedule and try to avoid overwhelm, you'll have a much firmer grasp on it. Try some of these tips and see how they work for you. There are lots of them, so pick one or two to get you started and just see how you perform, see how they work for you, so that you can get a little bit of motivation, and that little motivation will foster some more and more, and then eventually you will be able to try more or find techniques that I might not have even mentioned that help you to get motivated. Actually, let's that be the call to action today. How about go down in the description in the comments and let me know if anything that I've talked about is a technique that you already use. And if you have a technique that I have not mentioned, let me know in the comments below so that we can share on some of these techniques. So staying organized will go a long way in keeping you motivated. Our study planner and activity tracker will help you manage your entire semester and has templates that suggest study activities and help you to plan each revision session. You can track how confident you are in your progress over the entire semester. Download yours to get started. So that is down in the description below for the study planner. So that is a lot. My face is sore from all of the talking. That was a lot of talking. So if you have not already done the YouTube things, go down there. Please do like this video and subscribe to my channel. This week, my goal setting live stream is going to be on Thursday. So on Thursday, we're going to set our weekly goals. We are also going to have a chat about how your study location can impact your recall and retention of study materials. So don't miss that. We're going to be talking about that. And if you ever want to learn more about my events, I do post a schedule of all of my events on my website here. Let's find the website. Let's go to the website. Where is the share screen? Here we go. So here we are on the website, beautiful website. All you have to do up in this left-hand corner, head to events. I don't have the Thursday scheduled yet, but that's going to come in. Oh, I was talking about the courses earlier, and this is the Study Skills digital course. So right now the membership is closed. We are not taking any members right now. The membership side is closed, but you can still get access to the Study Skills digital course. This is in Canadian, of course, it's the $17 Canadian, and that gives you access to the full course. There are some items that the membership has that the digital course doesn't, like we have monthly master classes. You get access to some tutoring benefits, some coaching benefits, but the Study Skills digital course does still have the full digital course and full access. If you do have any questions about it, there is a free mini course that gives you access to the first module, so you can also check that out too. I mentioned it a couple of times, so maybe I should talk about it. Alrighty, so that is the sponsor. The sponsor was, of course, the Study Skills digital course. So again, check that out if you want to, but I'm going to go now. I will see you on Thursday. And until then, like this video and subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every week, and they are always about study tips, organizational hacks, and homework help to help you through the study struggle. You can also visit my website. That was www.absolutelystudying.com. And until next time, I hope you have an amazing adventure.